What is it about Deadlock that makes it so incredible and has so many people sticking around and playing a game that's not even out yet? Hey everyone, this is Connor here at Dead Unlocked, and today I want to talk about 5 reasons why I think Deadlock is so infectious, and why in particular I think it's appealing to such a wide variety of different players, and why that variety of players are so hooked to this game and so in love with it. So let's get right into it. And just a quick disclaimer, this one's a little bit more long form and unedited from me, so you're getting a lot of my thoughts on these topics, so I'll have chapters if you want to hop around, but anyway, enjoy. I just wanted to make sure people knew that up front. Number 1 is parrying. I think this is one of the most unique skill expressions in the game because it requires so much. It requires a snap response. It requires you to be somewhat predictive with, anticipating, a melee of some kind, right? Like, it rewards being reactionary to like misplays. It just has so many elements that are attractive when you think of a skill-based game like Deadlock that always wants to reward the player with the most skill. It gives really creative and free ways for skill expression to be expressed. Like you have obvious things like movement that we'll get into later, but with parrying specifically, there's just something about it that is a hook to me, and I can tell devs really want this to be a part of the game's skill expression. Number 1, because it's in an item like Counterspell. I mean, this item existing in the game and there being a way to link parrying with pure skill deny, or pure spell denial rather, really, it does seem like a nod that parrying will always be a part of the fabric of Deadlock, and in particular, the fabric of how you show skill expression in this game. And I think this is going to more and more be a way that we define some of the biggest plays in Deadlock too. And specifically, what I'm talking about here is I think parrying is like one of the coolest catalysts for playmaking in Deadlock. I mean, you think about it, imagine watching Deadlock esports in a few years when it's this huge thing. I can already imagine a lot of the big plays are going to come off the back of a really well-timed parry that led to a like barely survival. I can already think of some plays that we've already had in Deadlock esports so far that are like this, but the parry was the thing that started the play, and that's like, it has a cool sound cue, and it's just like this dope moment where you outplayed the other person. Items aren't involved, like someone with way lower econ could parry someone with higher econ and turn the fight. Like, it's a way for you to again express your skill, separate from the game situation, which again I just think is a really cool thing and a good way to have skill expression in a game like Deadlock. I think it rewards the player that really does get the satisfaction out of the 1v1 outplay. And I think it is a great thing, like I said, for clips and marketability to really help sell the game's biggest plays, and is a really easy to understand thing. It's very easy for a casual viewer to be like, oh yeah, he had this timing. It's very simple, and again, it can be one of the coolest things. So it's not convoluted, very straightforward, just outplay. So that's my, again, first thing that I really think defines in-game what makes Deadlock so unique and so playable, and why it's been so infectious to all these different player bases. And in particular, I will add on to that, I think in particular, like the fighting game community could really get into, and anyone who's, even if you're doing like a 3D fighter or whatever, platformer or whatever, parrying is a part of those games and is such a hallmark of that community of FGC. And so, if you're just an FGC player and you somehow catch this video, or you hear your friends playing Deadlock, I think you would love parrying and might love a hero like Silver or like Billy or like Abrams, who love to go in and punch and get involved in parrying. So anyway, sidebar. Number 2 is one that I really can't believe I'm saying, because it feels so counterintuitive to my nature as someone who likes marketing and public, PR and whatnot. But I actually think Deadlock's development and how it's gotten leaked and how so many people got into the game early and saw it in this really raw, unfinished state, and now a pretty large player base has kind of stuck with the game from those early days till now, and has been able to kind of tell the story through like social media and clips and different things, leaks, whatnot, like even videos like that I've made. Like, we've all been able to kind of like tell Deadlock's development story. And I actually think that facet and that component is like, to me, has come across as like a transparency from Valve, where they are okay with showing like this unfinished work in progress product to a lot of people, upwards of 170,000 people early on, right? Like, a lot of people played this game, and being like, it came across, like I said, really honest and transparent, and it's brought along a certain kind of player that just wants to be along for the ride and also appreciates seeing the development of the game. Like, I know for me personally, I've played this game for a long time with a small group of friends who all of us are just interested in seeing where the game goes. Like, we just genuinely don't know what the next update is going to hold a lot of the times, like outside of what leaks or whatnot, like rumors. But like, it's just cool to be able to see a game transform and like have an idea in your mind of what its potential is, and then see it actualize that in different ways, or maybe in ways you anticipated or whatnot. But the point being that, like, I think this is really attractive to a certain kind of player that values authenticity from developers, values like transparency and communication. Like, the amount that devs clearly are communicating back with this player base pre-release is pretty wild. So that's less about the gameplay of Deadlock specifically. It's more about just like the earnestness of the game and the way it feels like the community is kind of naturally formed from, you know, the community has kind of mirrored the game. I think people have been okay and like patient and accepting because they know the game's work in progress, so you don't get like an angry, gripey community. So I don't know, I think it's been a good thing. It's certainly been a cool journey to follow as a creator and as someone who just loves gaming. Like, this just feels like such a good thing and a really promising project for Valve. So it's just been really cool to see, and I think a lot of people are in the same mindset. So that's kind of my second component. For number 3, I really don't feel like you can make a Deadlock appreciation video or whatever this is without talking about the game's movement. So movement is absolutely something that I think is attractive for players, like is rewarding for players, and does so many things to enhance the Deadlock experience overall. Like, I think this is the reason, honestly, just the movement mechanics in general are the reason I buy Stamina Mastery every single game. Just because I want to like get into the movement tech more mid-game, and I've found so much utility in using the stamina bars, like just a piece, and that's just one piece of the movement puzzle, right? Like, that's not even touching on the multiple ways you can use them, what they can lead into with items like Kinetic Dash and Arcane Surge. Like, movement in general and it being linked with items like I just specifically mentioned is so cool. Like, I can think of some of the best players in North America and across the world right now. Like, I immediately think of a name like Ido as a player that is clearly a good player in his own regard in a lot of different ways, but kind of a hallmark of his being movement early on is so cool. Like, what a neat thing. I'm not trying to glaze Ido, just like anyone who's really good at movement, like what a cool thing to have mastered in a game like this, because it does reward you so much for doing so. Like, if you can get every inch out of movement on the map, you can just straight up do things faster than other people and farm souls faster, and like the rewards are just such a direct one-to-one correlation. And I think players like their skill expression like that. It's a similar point to parrying, where, you know, if you really do just execute this thing better and use the game's mechanic in a cool and creative way, you can just play the game better. Like, you can just have a better chance to win statistically with your higher soul count or whatever, right? So I could talk a lot about movement, just different like movement items that I really like. I think Majestic Leap has just been this item that I've always loved. I think it's so cool. Like, Magic Carpet is ridiculous, like a goofy expression of movement. Like, there's a lot of stuff like that. Like Seraphim Wings and Street Brawl is even like another one where it's just like ridiculous, obviously. But I just think movement is this really cool thing, and it's also like a way to, in initiate lobbies. Man, my stutter was wild there. That's crazy. In like a lower elo lobby, you won't see near as much movement expression happening. Like, you'll just see more and more, like, players not utilizing these different movement techs because they're difficult to do. And so it also allows for the new player to come into the game and play with other people like that. And then the more you play, like, the more you slowly learn these movement elements that start to reward you, and then those start to all of a sudden help you win games more and win fights more. And so it's just a cool way to, like, it's a piece of the puzzle when it comes to getting better at Deadlock. Obviously, like, there's a lot more elements like macro and team fighting and all kinds of other stuff. But if you can get movement down and you can become someone who can get around the map quickly and get in and out of fights effectively, you're just going to play you're going to play the game at a higher level. So that to me is just a cool thing. And I think things like that with the game are going to continue to bring players in who like that expression. It's also just, again, a hallmark of other games like Apex, where movement just feels really clean and fluid, and that's the other way I would describe it in this game. Things just feel good, like it just makes sense to do movement in Deadlock the way it's designed. So movement is my third thing for sure. All right, number 4 is honestly just the game's art, and not only just like the specifics of the art style itself, like the way the characters are animated, or like the specific style, like the way things are textured, like all that. I think all that's great, and like I do love the style, but I think as an art style, it really achieves 2 things. Number 1, it is unique. Like I've not seen really anything else really popular in gaming, and I may be just like uneducated and be missing things on that, but like I really don't feel like I see a lot of like early 1900s occult New York just like floating around in gaming these days. So it's a really unique take, and it's also one with instant like international recognizability. Like yes, it's in America, and I'm biased being someone in America who knows a lot about New York, and I can appreciate the kind of detail of the art and all that, but New York City is also something that people from all over the world know what that is. Like it's one of the most famous cities in the world, so you instantly have like a connection in someone's mind, like what New York City is. It in the same way that like people I think instantly would go play a game like Marvel Rivals because they have a connection to Marvel and can enjoy, like if they grow up loving the superhero, you know, I don't know, Spider-Man, and they can see him in a game that like going to play him is cool. Like in the same way that like you have this mystic idea of what New York City is and all the mystery and everything in New York City, and then you obviously stretch it to have all this occult and like creepy spooky stuff, different dimensions, Ixians, things like that, obviously a lot going on in the Deadlock universe, but I think that at a baseline, having New York City as a setting is a really cool strategic choice from Valve. Really can't talk, oh my god. That I think has paid dividends in this game, because for me, again, it is such an easy way to have a connection myself to the game, while also, again, just allowing, there's so much cool creativity within this expanse, because New York City, while it's definitely a place, is a really diverse place in and of itself. Obviously mixed in with all of Deadlock's extra lore and things like that, it's even more so. But in any case, I just think those 2 points are really important, but also just the design itself is sick. Like the characters are so cool. I don't know, like the newest heroes are really, really good. Like I think Rem has done something to me. Like it's opened up, my heart was the Grinch sized, and I think Rem has helped to like heal something in me. I don't know, it's wild. Cute little guy for sure. And then the other heroes are just really dope as well. Like I think they've just been doing an incredible job with hero design, and I really do not want to overstate the fact that they've designed and released 12 heroes in 5 months. Like that is a really unreal thing in the hero shooter landscape or market, I don't know, but that's just a really impressive feat, and to do it with such a cool designs is great. Obviously some of the heroes still need to be remodeled, like Yamato, and there's Sinclair and some others that I think could probably use a different base skin, but all in all, the direction is just so incredible. The art style is dope. I have so many feelings about the hideout. Like I'm not gonna make it one of these points, but like the whole vibe in the hideout and just the mood of the game and like everything wrapped up in like the feeling and the art of Deadlock is just so on point, and I think it just appeals to a lot of people. For like all those reasons I mentioned. Anyone who has a connection to New York in their mind, or has a baseline of what to expect, and then your imagination can just kind of go wild from there. So again, I think it's a really great art style. I also just like personally appreciate that, at least at this point, it doesn't feel like any character design is like overly sexualized or anything. It just feels like a good, creative, straightforward art style that I can appreciate. So that's just like maybe a mute point, but something I'm passionate about, at least character design. So yeah, all in all though, the art of Deadlock is just so beautiful, so incredible, and I really can't wait to see what they do with it moving forward. Number 5 is actually low-key my favorite part of Deadlock, and that is build creation. Like I don't know what itch it scratches. Maybe I love strategy games, and like I love the idea of, at least in my head, of like min-maxing, even though if the build doesn't play out perfectly, like trying to find ways to like min-max abilities or really achieve what I'm trying to do in a build, like tinker with the item shop. Like just the whole way it's set up in game really lends itself to not only like me trying to figure out how to craft a build, but also having like pretty trusted places to start with doing that. Like the public build browser, I think, is a really neat addition in this game. And like, you know, I watch a lot of Deadlock esports, so if I'm watching, like I mentioned, like Ido, or like let's say I'm watching like John, and like I'm looking for a Bebop build, well then I can just go to the Bebop, you know, public build screen and look for John's build. And like, as a player who's trying to be pretty good at this game, I feel like John's way of playing Bebop is a good place to start, right? If you can achieve any level of close to what he's doing on that character, right? Point being, like, being able to source immediately and directly from the top players or trusted players, or your favorite creator or whatever, is a really neat thing. And there being a copy and edit button right there on the build is really great. Like, personally, I try and make my builds really simply. That way I always have like a baseline of how I want to play a certain kind of hero. Like maybe it's like a barrel holiday build, for example. I'll always have like a stock build like that. Then I can always copy and edit that build with like certain items that'll always be core on that build, like rapid recharge or something like that, right? And then, you know, as the meta changes, have like an updated version, or have like one with a slightly different flair. And it feels really easy and accessible to do that. I do think that is a great way. Getting into builds is a great way for new players to learn the item shop, number one. Like, I think, you know, getting new players creating builds is a great thing, even if you are using something like a starting point, like I mentioned, to do that. But overall, I just think that not just like the way you create builds in the game, but just like the creative build expression on so many different heroes is incredible. Like, I'm a big Gun Viscous hater. I hate that, you know, you could play that hero like that, but like, it's so cool that became a thing in the meta for a little bit. I'm glad developers nerfed it quickly, but like, being able to play Viscous that many different ways is a really neat thing to me. And, you know, the builds being creative throughout that process is like what allowed that to happen. Like, just that, you know, the combination of the items and the abilities and like being able to break certain heroes is what leads to like new metas forming. And that all happens just through creative build crafting and testing of items and whatnot. So I could go on a lot about what I love about builds, but I think for me, I am a little bit of a strategy game player. Like, I love like the Civ franchise and games like that. And so it allowed me to like bring some of that, I don't know, it scratches some of that itch when I'm playing this game, because I can still like find ways to like fine tune or play a hero my way, like have some ownership over the way you're playing a hero or something like that. Like, I don't know, it just did that for me, and maybe that's a thing for others, but I do also think it can be one of the more overwhelming things in Deadlock. And it's just another one of those things that it rewards skill expression in a different way. But if it's something that, even if it's overwhelming, I think it can be, you know, something that players get a hold of pretty quickly. It just forces you to spend time engaging with it. And that is why I think, again, it's another form of just kind of like that skill expression in the game. You know, players that have studied builds for a lot longer than another player are going to have an edge, like how to counterpick items or different things. Like, knowing your items rewards you in game if you can really put two and two together and make a reactionary choice, or build in a certain way to, you know, capitalize on a deficiency on the other team. So builds in general, I just think, have so much potential and will continue to be this like really neat thing that develops within Deadlock. Like, we'll have creators that'll be like really famously good at building on like this hero, for example, or something. Like, that's a cool thing. And it's a community building thing, and just a neat aspect of Deadlock, and definitely, if not my favorite, one of the reasons I love this game the most. And before I wrap, I should say, like, this list isn't expansive. This is not everything I love about Deadlock. Like, I've made an entire video about the hideout. I really do think the hideout is a cool thing. Like, there's a lot of other elements I like about the game, but in particular, I think these 5 things really do, like I said, they appeal, like, really, they like strike a nerve with people in a good way, scratch an itch, however you want to say it, to a wide swath of people, all from different backgrounds. Like, I mentioned FGC players with parrying, I mentioned Apex players with movement, just people that can value like originality in art. Like, this feels like it's something really uniquely itself that attracts a certain kind of person. Watching the game develop and seeing its entire history, like almost like growing with the game, I think is an attractive thing for people. So there's just a lot of reasons to love Deadlock, and I think a lot of reasons why this game feels so captivating right now, and why I think a lot of people have this pretty monumental belief in what Deadlock can be as a game. because we see the potential of all these components put together into one thing. And then when you think down the line, it can be this really incredible game with an unbelievable esport and just, again, doing something that feels really uniquely cool in gaming. So I'll quit yapping there. I wanted to make this video a little bit more casual, like I said, a little bit more conversational, podcasty, just talking about Deadlock and reasons why. In particular, I think it's a great game. Let me know in the comments if you like this style. I'm happy to do more of these. I want to find ways to like engage with the community more, and this feels like a good way to do it in a really kind of genuine and earnest way. So I'm happy to do more videos like this if you guys want. Let me know in the comments, and let me know what you love about Deadlock. I think this is a game that grabs people for really different reasons. The 5 I lists, like I said, are not expansive to every reason to play this game. And, you know, some people might just like how competitive it is, or how it's just the best MOBA right now. I don't know. But let me know why you love this game. And yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in from our house to yours. We'll see you all next time here at Dead Unlocked.